Welcome to the Franchise Woman podcast, where passion and purpose collide, profits are made, and relationships forged. I'm Rebecca Monet, CEO and Chief Scientist at Zoracle Profiles, along with my co-host, community advocate, speaker, author, and entrepreneur, Tracy Kawa. So I'm really excited. Our special guest today is Barbara Nuss. Barb is a CPA and the founder of Profit Soup, a financial learning and development company. She combines the management and teaching skills of a seasoned business advisor with the technical knowledge of a CPA. She leverages her passion for collaboration and creativity to develop customized financial curriculum for franchise organizations, including a state-of-the-art interactive online training. Her claim Profit Soup Online, well, that's hard to say, launched in 2016 as one of the leading financial training resources in the franchise industry. Barbara's passionate advocate of small business and franchise models. She believes financial information is not just for financial people. All business people achieve more when they are comfortable using KPIs and financial statements to support their business decisions. This is going to be an interesting conversation. So welcome to the show, Barb. I really appreciate it.
Wonderful to be here.
Barb, I'm really excited to hear about your journey. Like, where does it all begin for you?
From a business standpoint, I worked my way through college in retail, just like a lot of people, and it happened to get a peek behind the curtain to help out on the accounting side, doing some bookkeeping. I thought, I really enjoy this. So I changed my degree to an accounting degree. And then all my friends said, public accounting is the only place for you. So I went into public accounting and paid my debt to society there. I started my own accounting practice in 1990. And it wasn't more than about, 5 or 6 years before I realized I really enjoyed looking out the front of the boat better than looking out the back of the boat. And most accountants spend their whole life looking at what's already happened, writing down, filling out forms, tax returns, financial statements, accounting for history, which I found interesting, but not inspiring. What I learned in working with business owners when I had my own accounting practice was that many of them they were just going through the motions on the accounting to check the box and say, I got it done. And there was a wealth of information there that would help them have a better business if they just knew how to use it. But by the time they got done paying my fee to do the tax return and the financial statements, they didn't want to pay me to help them anymore. So I thought, I don't like this side of the business, right? They didn't have the budget to sit down and have some conversations and do budgets and plans and set KPIs and targets. And that was what seemed way more fun to me. Quite honestly, debits and credits and tax returns bore me terribly. They're a necessary evil. But they're not fun. What's fun is when you say, how can I take that information and change my future with it? Wow. And it was like the only way I could have those conversations is if I wasn't mired down in the compliance conversations. Mm-hmm. So I had to sell my accounting practice really to change the narrative of what I was doing. And I ended up in the franchising space through an association with one of my friends that I networked with. And what we learned really quickly was that there's such a need and going from, like, instead of one-to-one coaching on that, one to many meant education, training, finding replicable systems and ways to do this. And now fast forward, 30 years later, and my company is a financial training company. We spend time helping people learn how to use their financial information to build a better future and to be intentional about creating not just profits, but creating business value and driving wealth from your investment in your business.
I never thought of it as kind of the back of the boat or the back of the bus versus the front of the bus. But you're right, that information, that data, if we know how to read it, understand it, we can be better planners. We can look at our businesses from a KPI perspective, and drive the business, right? Make wise decisions.
So the way I like to put it is you look at that history, you know when bells and whistles should be going off in your head. And then not just know, oh my gosh, I'm in trouble, but what can I do about it? It's about being proactive. And that's different than a lot of people tell me they get from their CPA. And there's a reason for that. We get so bogged down with filling out forms and not having the time to do the real important work. And that's plan our futures.
You know, having been in the franchise space now 30 years, Barb, I think this point that you're making about franchisees really not having these kinds of tools or knowledge base is very common. They're usually corporate executives that have been crazy successful in HR or IT or marketing or whatever, but they've not run a business and looked at it from this kind of perspective. So to have some kind of education that they can now step into a business and understand the financials and how to run their business by numbers is an incredibly valuable service that Profit Soup provides. So I want to acknowledge you.
And it's fun.
And it's fun. Well, and that's what I was wanting to talk about. I know Tracy's going there too. Is like when you talk about this, you're excited, you're passionate. So at what point did you get passionate, or did you always know that you are passionate about this?
Look, my first career choice is that I wanted to be a rock and roll star. So whatever it is, you know, it's got to be fun. And I guess the thing that happened when it was probably in the 2008 decline time, that was a kind of a time in my career when I said, not this again, because it wasn't my first rodeo down the, you know, down the economic toilet, right? So what I realized right then was that, okay, well, let's work our way out of this. And from now on, if it's not fun, I don't want to do it. And that changed the experience of my clients, customers, learners, that, you know, this stuff really is fun. I mean, really, the numbers are always fun. I love puzzles and, you know, all that stuff. So I just take these weird combination of skill sets. For me, I was a very creative person, very musical person, which you don't usually see in debits and credits for people, right? So it was taken a very logical, analytical mindset that's also combined with a very creative mindset. So for me, training is the place you end up, you know, helping others is the place you end up when those are your skill sets.
Yeah, that's true. It's kind of like where entertainment meets education, right? And you're in front of a group, you're training them, you're teaching them new concepts. But I'm curious how you make finances fun.
What could be more fun than making more money, really?
Good point.
Well, there's plenty of opportunities that we have to laugh at ourselves. Yeah. I'll tell you that. I've got a lot of war stories from my life's experience that are kind of funny. And when we can put them out there in ways that I'm laughing at myself, or I put out an analogy or an anecdote that they laugh at something they see in themselves, human nature. But the truth is, look, it's not that complicated. If you make more than you spend, it comes out good, right? And so we have a tendency to overcomplicate it. What we really want to do is figure out what are the levers I can pull, and what are the traps, the things I don't want to step in. And really, it's enlightening. And when I see that light bulb go on in people's faces, who people would otherwise say, I'm just not a numbers person, I can't do this. And the first time they'll say to me, wow, if somebody would have told me this way a long time ago, my life would be different. Why didn't anybody tell me this? And I think it's because it's a technical field, it's technical training, and technical people go there. And an old friend of mine used to say, look, finance is not boring, financial people are boring. And the truth is that there's some exciting stuff. It's boring when you talk about filling out forms and reading long lists of numbers. But when it gets to these are the things we do in a day to make the numbers come out how they are, therefore do more of these things and you'll get the results you're after. Or better yet, start with the vision of the result you want and work your way backward. So to what do I have to do to make that happen? So I guess it's exciting for people because they feel empowered in an area that they always felt intimidated from before. And that's fun. Plus, you have to play games, right? I can't stand there and lecture about finance, right? We have to gamify it. We have to make it fun because adult learning, people it's directly proportional to the amount of fun that they're having. And so it's not going to stick if it's not fun. I guess there's another point of passion here that's evolved in my career, and that is adult learning. How do people learn, and how do you, and they learn a whole bunch of different ways. And so then how I'm working with a franchise organization, I got a room of 20 or 40 or 100 or 500 people. How do I get that information out there? Not so that we take, you got people like this. Some people are here, some people are here. You're not necessarily trying to get everybody up to here, right? What you're trying to do is do this. Okay, over time, you're trying to just bring everybody up a notch, bring everybody up a notch. Well, it takes different styles to get different people to move it up a notch. So you mix it up, Some people need to read, some people need to do, right? Some people need to write. And nobody does that anymore, right? We don't write anything anymore.
No, never. Barb, I'm just thinking about franchisees that are getting involved in a business that oftentimes is a passion business. Examples might be wild birds. It's a hobby business. I'm attracted to birds. Maybe it's a dog training business or dog grooming business. I love dogs. Or it's an elder care business, and I love being an advocate for elders or children. But it really is the attraction to those businesses are some form of passion. And of course, we're all about passion here on the Franchise Woman. But talk to me about, is that always a good match for someone? And if so, what about the skills, including the financial skills that may or may not be lacking?
Well, I love the examples you put out there. I have clients in all those industries, and I don't like to drop names, but wild birds is one of my favorites. And especially for an example of somebody who, from a franchise system, figured this passion versus profit out. And look, I'm passionate about my business. Passion really matters. There's more to life than profit, right? I love what I do. I know a lot of these franchisees, they love what they do. But the thing is, when they stop paying me for it, I'm going to quit doing it. That doesn't mean that the passion isn't important also. But it's sometimes hard to create an enterprise mindset when the reason why the reason why we were driven into this business was because of a specific passion. I guess it's very similar to back in my CPA days when I was working with nonprofit organizations, right? Their passion is to serve. And it's like profit's a dirty word, right? Oh, well, we're a nonprofit. We're not supposed to make money. We're supposed to work really hard and get nothing for it. That's not really what nonprofit means. What it means is that the bottom line is there to facilitate the growth of the organization so it can serve more people. And if you're never profitable, you can't spread your passion, right? And so sometimes we get so hung up on, oh, well, this is a part of the business I love and I'm not good at that part, so I'll stay into this part. That's a problem, number one. But we also see this mindset that well, you just think about the profit. We have to think about, given, feeding the birds and things like that. We shouldn't really worry about how much money we make. No, you know what? If you make more money, you can feed more birds, right? You can serve more people. You can spread the word. You can help more seniors. You can deliver more of your purpose if you do it efficiently. And that's what profit means. I'm doing it efficiently, so I can do more of it. The other thing people forget is that profit's not optional. This is one of my big mantras. Profit is not optional. You must make a profit to be sustainable, because you need that profit to reinvest in that business, to grow it, to be more, to deliver more of your passion. You probably borrowed some money to get in, and it's going to take profit to pay that back. And the truth is, when you have invested in a business, you're owed a return on that investment. And this is that enterprise mindset that I wish people that of passion would not feel that makes them dirty. That they should feel like I'm entitled to all three of these. And if I manage the business well, there's enough to go around, and I don't have to shortchange my passion side. Does that get you there?
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm wondering how far back this goes in the business. Does it go all the way back to the business model? Like, do you have to take a look at the business model to see that the business model is even going to work?
Excellent point. Excellent point. Because it's the franchisor, not the franchisee, that needs to understand this stuff well. Because if, in fact, somebody's invested in a franchise, you've kind of made a promise that the business model works. Right. And if you sold it because, wouldn't it be fun to do this all the time? I'm not saying that's never a viable thing for somebody to invest in, but it's just not the norm. I mean, the norm is that it needs to be a viable business. Yeah. So let's talk to those people who want to have both right now. Mm-hmm. And it starts with the franchisor really understanding what it takes to make their business model work, and to not be really focused on, hey, you should love doing this for nothing because it's our passion. The best franchisors learn how to create an enterprise mindset in their franchisees that come with this passion. Because I'll tell you, we can take somebody with a passion, and we can add a little bit of skill sets of financial awareness, business acumen. That's not that hard to do, and make them great. It's really hard to take a dull, boring accountant that doesn't feel like taking any risk because we're conservative by our nature, and to give them passion, right? And it's when you have them both that great things can happen. So I love the passionate business owner. I love that person who says, I'm not a numbers person, because I can't wait to open your eyes to the fact that that does not need to hold you back. You can excel at managing your business by the numbers. It's just choose the right numbers, right? Here's another one of my mantras. If the numbers are boring, you've got the wrong numbers, right? There can be some that are very motivating, inspirational, and you know that when you ace it, good things happen. Well, focus on those. Don't spend, 8 hours a month reading boring financial statements. Focus on the things that really make a difference and move on.
Yeah. To Tracy's point, that's what a franchisor does. They make sure they have a viable business model that can create profit, and then they offer that model to franchisees. However, not all franchisees are business savvy. They may be passionate, right? So what can they do to be more financially literate, and what are some roadblocks that prevents a passionate franchisee from looking at those financials and understanding them?
So systemically, the franchise system itself has to know what that roadmap is for their system. And those things that I just talked about, like what are the right numbers to look at, that should be like identified in the way that franchisors communicate to their franchisees. The franchisees shouldn't have to be figuring out what's the number I should be looking at. So all the way down. So there needs to be systems.
Yeah.
And systems that enable us to focus on the things that matter most, not systems that enable us to see everything under the sun, but systems that enable us to focus on the things that matter most and to help people focus on the right things. So that starts with the technology platforms that run the business, and what do we measure and what do we share? What do we benchmark and share with our franchisees? So it starts with systems and having information. It also includes coaching, right? Because in the great franchise systems have great business coaches that help understand what the franchisee needs to move to the next place and coaches their performance up, right? So we have systems, we have coaching. We have, just that regular, what's that regular monthly review routine like? And if franchisees come knowing nothing about this, there needs to be an educational component at the very beginning. And that educational component needs to reflect the right numbers, the right systems, and the coaching model so that we're all speaking the same language all the way through the process. So that requires thinking ahead. That requires saying, what are the most important financial lessons? Because maybe they don't need all of them. Right? Maybe this business is a simple model. They don't have inventory. They don't have accounts receivable. Well, don't send them through training on that. Tell them how to drive sales efficiently and profitably, and how to measure whether they're achieving their goals. And if that's the case, they probably also need to manage their labor cost and people and materials, and they probably need to drive enough volume to pay for the house, right? So figure out what is the key to success, financial success in that business model, and design that financial training, systems, and coaching all with one set of one vocabulary.
Yeah.
Nice.
Where does mindset come into this? Because a franchisor, through some of your tools and their training and coaching, etc., could be providing some of this. But where does mindset come into that? I can think about me, right? Because you mentioned the nonprofits. I come from a missionary background where money is evil and and I'm not a numbers person, blah blah blah. How does that all figure in here to be not just financially literate, but executing in a way that you see yourself as worthy, and you understand, as you had pointed out, that the more money I make, the more impact I can have, the more people I can serve?
So, obviously mindset is such an individualistic thing. And if I'm a franchisor and I'm looking at a bunch of franchisees, they all have a lot of different, they come to the table different with that. And I would say the most destructive mindset is that one that says profit's evil, as you mentioned, in terms of destructive to your business model. But I'd say the other mindset, that maybe there's one that comes before that, and that is what we talked about before, is that I'm not a numbers person. And that mindset that says, I can't do this, I'm not good at that thing. Okay, therefore, I will just do all the other things and hope that one comes right. And sometimes that works. And for many people, they've worked that way all their lives. They've avoided the thing that really challenged them. So at, the best in business are not the people that know everything. They're the people that can look at themselves and say, I need to work on this. I need to acknowledge that this is not my comfort level, and I'd be more successful if it were. Therefore, find my way forward. And I think that I'm not a numbers person mindset is a first one to start. I think that franchisors can do a big service with franchisees by being very clear about long-term vision and goals, and how your business intersects with your personal goals. Because if we never address that conversation, we will become complacent about our business because it's no longer serving our personal goals. And then we become underperformers just because, hey, that's good enough. I mean, I'm happy enough. So I think it's just prudent to always be talking about and be aware of what your long-term vision is, your purpose. It's your why. I mean, you guys are big on this passion, purpose, right? Okay, why are we here? What are we trying to accomplish? And be really clear with that. And it needs to be revisited every year, possibly with your business coach, but there's nothing more powerful, and it's not doable in every single system, but there's nothing more powerful than the top executive having a personal goals conversation with a franchisee. Certainly your multi-unit franchisees about, and your top franchisees, how are we doing at serving your personal goal? Does this business investment still do it for you? If not, why not? And the answers to those questions reveal the mindsets we need to work on and potentially the skills we need to gain to move our mindset forward. But, one of the traps I think franchise business coaches get into is, we need to be a coach. We need to be a consultant because we have data, we have information they don't have. So we need to consult. We need to be a lot of things to a lot of people. We need to be a trainer. We need to be an educator. The thing that's really hard is when we think we need to be a counselor also. and then the conversation starts out with, how are things going? Oh, my mule went lame, my dog left me, all those things. And if we get mired down into the destructive mindsets instead of focusing on how to move the business forward, you got to listen a little bit, but you don't want to get torn down into it. So mindset's a tough one. It should be addressed regularly, like annually, but you don't want every conversation to be about, how do you feel today? Because you got to move forward. You got to set goals. So we use goals and then we check back on our progress on those goals.
This is such a fascinating conversation.
I know you thought we were going to talk about profits.
That's right.
But this is what's required to be profitable.
I have just about a million questions for you, but I just want to reel it back for a second and get very specific about something. When you train someone to look at a P&L, are you training them to look for specific things, or are you training them to look at the entire P&L as a story about their business?
Oh, right. So that's found another Profit Soup mantra. Financial statements is where the story of your business is told. And that is your business telling its story about how good of a job you're doing managing it. All right. It's the mouthpiece of your business. It's your business giving you feedback about your management skills, right? And about what's going right and wrong and when bells and whistles should be going off in your head. And it is a skill set to learn what to look for. And it might be a little bit different with different business models, but it's more things in common than different. Okay. So of course we need to drive volume, enough volume to pay all our costs and make some money. And if we start with the end in mind, we can say, I want to build a business that's worth $5 million in 5 years. How would I do that? How much profit would it have to be earning, and work my way backward to say, okay, well, that would probably be in this franchise system, 4 units doing $800,000 a piece at a 20% profit. Okay, we can help people set those goals, but we can also then help them set their mindset on, well, what are the levers I can pull to make that profit come out right, whereby the franchisor must know already what those levers are. So we don't train them on everything. Look, in this business, you need to drive volume. You need to manage people. You need to have a place that drives traffic, or you need to be really active in your website or whatever, if that's how it drives leads. But it starts at the top line. A lot of financial people will say, well, it's not, what you make, it's what you keep that counts. I get it. That's true. But if you don't ever drive the sales, it isn't going to happen. So it starts with good discipline around driving sales. The next level is, how efficiently do you deliver that product or service to your client, as in what we would call like cost of goods sold, cost of sales. I mean, how efficiently, how productive are our resources, biggest resource, people? How productive are we? How efficiently do we manage those resources to drive sales? And then there's two sides of the business beyond productivity we need to look at: profit and cash flow, because they're not necessarily the same thing, right? And for some businesses, they're very different. So the franchisor knows how much time they have to spend talking about one versus the other because they understand their model. There's ways to screw up your profit. There's ways to screw up your cash flow. It's all been done before. So we figure out what are the metrics to keep our eyes on. So I want a monthly financial review routine. I get the same thing every month, the same day, no later than the 15th of the following month. The packet's in the same order, and it used to be a written printed packet. It doesn't have to be. It can be a folder that has all the reports I want in. I don't want to have to go everywhere looking all over, because the phone will ring or I'll see a shiny thing and I won't get it done. So I want all that stuff in one place where I can say, okay, now I'm looking at this report that shows me this. Now I'm going to compare it to my budget. Here's my top 3 goals. How am I doing against the progress against those goals? If I'm not hitting them, why not? And so then the conversations are not really about, is the math right? It's about, am I achieving my goals? And this financial statement is your business giving you feedback about whether you're achieving your goals or not.
So yeah, so to your point, it is a story, a reflection, a mirror of the story of your business and your goals. I like how you're highlighting that we take our professional and our personal goals and we look at our financials and saying, are we getting closer or further away from it? So it's not just about profit. It's not just, are we getting where we want to go? And we have to look at that on a regular basis. Having been an entrepreneur my whole life and having built and sold a couple of companies, I had my brother once say to me, what ultimately do you want? Because my business is a passion business, right? It is a purpose business. And the one thing that I wasn't getting was, I want more freedom. And he says, okay, what do you have to do? And this is the same thing you're saying. What do you have to do to still live out your purpose, still live out your passion, but create more of this freedom that you're not getting? And that had me look at my business and say, I need to invest in more technology so things can replicate, things can scale, and I can sit back and have more time and freedom. Had I not stopped to ask those questions and then looked at the numbers and said, where can I shift some of my dollars so I can have this personal goal and at the same time benefit my business? So I do think it's a regular sit down conversation you have, but also it's a conversation you have with others. In my case, a brother that was financially independent had created this for himself. But a lot of it too is advisors and relationships and people we have in our lives. Can you address that a little bit? When we ourselves are not as financially literate, we can take courses, we can take training, but what about the human and the relationship aspect? Who else do we need on our team or need to include?
Yeah, the low-hanging fruit obviously is a good outside accountant. Okay. And I remember as a young upcoming professional, one of my first, clients in my own practice came and he sat across the desk from me and been in business for a while. And he said to me, Barb, my last accountant was great. I didn't understand a word he said. Okay. So he knew that person was really smart and did a good job. But to me, if you're saying that, that's not the best accountant in today's world. Okay. The technical skills are important. You can get them from a computer. You can get them they don't change your business that much. What changes your business is having somebody that you can talk to, that you feel comfortable talking to about business issues. It's not somebody who just does your tax return at the end of the year for the lowest amount of money, right? So we're looking for someone you can ask business questions and you feel comfortable with, and you don't feel like you feel like you can say, when I look at the balance sheet, why is depreciation a minus? I never understood this. You got to feel comfortable with having those conversations with somebody. If you feel like, oh gosh, if I asked them that, they'd think I was really stupid, then you've got the wrong accountant. Okay. So find that in yourself to find the right person. In a franchise system, the world revolves around relationships, and there's plenty of opportunities that actually give you a competitive advantage that you don't have as an independent business. As an independent business, you don't have an expert at marketing this business model. You don't have an expert at the operations side or the HR side of this business model. You may not have a really strong business consultant. So you have such a wealth of information. The relationships with your franchise team are golden. Sometimes relationships between franchisors and franchisees aren't golden. We all know that, right? And the other franchisees in your organization are great resources for somebody who has their soldiers that have fought in the same trenches with you. There's somebody who's already solved the problem you're facing. It's like Cheers, you go and everybody knows they know your name and they know your problems, they understand. You have that community that you don't have elsewhere. One of the ways that community goes sideways is, as in all communities, one bad apple can spoil a whole bunch. You got to be really careful not to turn those relationships into a playing field for gripe sessions, because that's not going to help your mindset. Mm-hmm. So what I would say is seek out the people that I want to be just like that person, and informally or formally have them mentor you. Just be friends. People help each other in this industry. It's your competitive advantage, and use it. But keep it positive. Keep the narrative positive. I understand, like, we like to get together with franchisees, like to get together and beat up on the franchisor. That feels really good at first, but it doesn't solve anything. We want to find the people that will take us to the best place and be one of them. How can I be like them? There's lots of opportunities. And actually, it can be outside your franchise system. Mm-hmm. Okay, it can be other people that are franchisees of different systems. And this is where, associations like the International Franchise Association, the Women's Franchise Network, which is a subset of that, meeting people that are kind of like you, can be outside your own system. You might say, wow, you might learn something, say, wow, I want one of those franchises too. And, really be building yourself a wonderful life forward, which people do. I just would say that the relationships are essential. The systems are essential. When it comes to financial knowledge, because I feel like we haven't really hit the financial side much, and they expect that from me. Profit Soup, they expect that from me. If there's one thing you need to know, it's a command of the tool we call breakeven. Oh my gosh, I said it. Breakeven is not a goal. Okay. It's a formula. The only time it's a goal is when you're losing money, but it's a formula that's valuable later. If you can master the use of it, which is not that hard to do. It is not that hard to do. It can be very simple if you've got the right tools to learn it. If you can master the use of it, you can answer questions like, if I want to add this person, how much do I have to get in sales before it pays for itself? If I want to make this marketing investment, what do I have to get in sales to pay for itself? If my sales drop off because I'm going into recession by, $40,000, how much do I have to cut costs to come out the same? And once you start building that profit maker's intuition, and that is the go-to tool that gets you there, I don't care if you know why accumulated depreciation is a negative on your balance sheet. Wow. Because it's actionable. You can answer how many customers then is it going to take to do that? And if this is how many customers I get, how many leads do I need? Because I convert them at 50%. So I must need this many leads. And if this is my leads I need, and this is my cost per lead, what do I have to spend in marketing? So it starts to get really actionable about how you drive the engine. So if there's one financial tool you must master, it's break-even analysis.
That's awesome.
There's my financial thing for the day.
Oh, so it sounds like you believe even those people that aren't numbers oriented can learn how to do this break-even analysis if they have good training through Profit Soup. And they can learn how to do that and build their business via that.
I don't just think it, I know it.
I
know that's the case. And sometimes people get some roadblocks, and you say, hey, and I say, hey, tell me what's the roadblock. Let's talk about this. Because sometimes our thinking goes down the wrong rabbit hole. We can wind you back in. There is no rabbit hole somebody can go down that I haven't seen somebody go down already. I've been doing this a really long time. So
that's awesome.
I love your passion. I hate to do this, but we're going to have to wind up or wind down, I should say. I'm already wound up because this is such an exciting topic.
Yes.
So I want to make sure that people know how to get hold of you, learn more about some of these online courses and the speaking engagements you do. So how would someone learn more about Profit Soup Online, and get hold of you?
So our website is www.profitsoup.com. And we have a tab on there about new franchisee training. That's a great place to start. It really shows you, what we do, who we've done it for, how we do it. And there's also, you work your way right through that page and you'll find a link to get a free trial of the training. So you can actually test drive it for sure to see if you think it's right for you and your network. So it's a great way. There's a tab there for SBDCs, small business development councils. We do a lot of work in that segment as well, because budding entrepreneurs are our passion, and helping them not, step in the wrong thing right out of the chute is one of the best things that we can do to secure the future of our systems.
Indeed. Tracy, final thoughts from you.
I've never been so excited to go look at my P&L. Literally, it's just, your enthusiasm is so infectious.
It's true. There's definitely a crossover here with the passion, purpose in your personal life and business life, which ultimately creates profit for your company, but by helping a whole lot of others get to where they want to get in terms of profit, and being able to more fully express their passions or their purposes, because they have additional profit by taking some time to educate themselves, starting with this break-even analysis. And of course, there's additional training, but definitely this is a classic example of where passion and purpose collide, profits are made, and relationships are forged. So thank you, Barb, for being with us today. Tracy, I noticed you were taking notes, so just jotting.
Oh yeah.
Down. So thank you, Barb, for being with us today. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for the opportunity.
You got it. And for those of you listening in today to the Franchise Woman podcast, where passion and purpose collide, profits are made, and relationships are forged, we're glad you're here. We'll see you next week on another episode.